And we're live, probably, hopefully.
Okay, cool. So today we're talking about Toby Dammit, the film or the short film. So since I've watched it many times, I'm actually more very interested to hear what you thought. So let me start with the first question. How were you bored at any point during this film?
Nope. Um, you were worried I was going to be bored. I wasn't. But you also said it was going to be slow, and it
Hmm.
wasn't either. Um, have you watched Uncut Gems?
No, I want to though, but I haven't yet.
I haven't finished that movie, but and I quit because of the feeling that it gave me. And Toby Dammit gave me the same feeling. Um, and it's that feeling that you're watching like a train wreck about to happen. It's like
Hmm.
things are happening and you can tell that they're not going in a good direction and this is like not sustainable at all and
Hmm.
there's going to be a crash soon and you know
Sorry. Yeah. You know I'm laughing at, right? You
yeah I
said
know
crash.
I know because yeah but like that was like a
Mm.
how do you put it, it was like a uh, an actualization of what was happening metaphorically, let's put it that way. um
Yes.
and so I mean, the feeling isn't good, but I understand how it makes for a compelling watching experience. And I quit because Uncut Gems was like, I think it's like an hour and a half, and I couldn't
Mm.
handle all of it. It was also a little bit like, it was worse than Toby Dammit in that sense because there was like too many layers to what was happening. Toby Dammit's story is like far simpler, I think. Um,
Yeah.
and
From
so
what
it
you
was
said. I
a
said yeah, and I don't haven't even seen it, but
yeah,
continue.
yeah. I mean, it's shorter, it's simpler, there
Mm.
aren't as many layers, and I mean, simpler in the sense that uh, the main character isn't juggling as many things at the same time, and
Mm.
so I could withstand it for longer. And I said it to you, right? I feel like it ends at a good point. Like it couldn't have gone for much longer after, uh, the 40-minute mark. Uh,
No.
And yeah, like I said to you, I think it's like a 6 out of 10. Um,
Mm.
it's enjoyable. I wasn't bored. It was relatively short, and there's a lot. I mean, I wrote about it a little bit after I watched it, just so I wouldn't, because I thought that we were going to talk about it like last week. Um,
Yes, I know.
so let me see what I have written here that I thought about it.
Also, while you're doing that, can you bring up, because since you're on computer, can you bring up the video, like the film? Because I did have some timestamps that I wanted us to look at, sort of.
Sure. If
Like,
I
yeah,
see where I have it downloaded. Uh, you want me to
because
bring
it's
it
on
up
YouTube
to the
though.
stream or? Yeah, no, I downloaded it
Yeah.
though. So
Okay. Screw it. I can, in worst case scenario, we'll just edit it in. But there are some. The thing is also, since as I said, like I've watched this many times. It's like one of my favorite films.
yep.
So I have. So to me, like when I rewatch it, I can sort of pick out things that you might not notice. Not because you're retarded or anything, of course not. But it's more like it's very intense, and the guy who plays Toby Dammit is really he draws in your attention very well because he's a very good actor. So
Mhm.
at least that's what I felt. But actually, I know it's a very standard question, but did you think you did a good job, like the guy playing him?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. The thing is that
Okay, I have
I know.
it, and then let me just add it to OBS, and then you can tell me the timestamps. But go ahead, keep talking. Well,
Yeah, yeah. No,
this.
what I was gonna say is that I did because I watched it. Did you watch it when he speaks Spanish or when he speaks, sorry, Italian or when he speaks English? Which
Uh,
version did you have?
uh, he speaks English, but the other people speak
Awesome.
Italian, and it's annoying because
Yes.
I downloaded it with subtitles and only the Italian parts are subtitled, and
Mm.
sometimes I don't understand what he's saying. But yeah,
Yeah. No, there are some things that I found. I mean, just to yeah, to just give us a summary of the film, because it's more interesting if you do it since you haven't watched it or before, and then I can add the small points of contention. Just
Sure.
like from just very brief, as brief as you can.
Oh, as brief as I can. Uh, an
It is
actor
a very
with
brief plot.
an actor with a declining career accepts an offer to make a movie in another country. Um, the problem is that since I haven't thought this through before, it won't make it like be succinct. So I just keep adding to it. Uh,
Yes.
he's an alcoholic. Uh, he doesn't feel like he's a good actor. He thinks that other people are like hyping him up, and he's not actually that good. He is a train wreck. He really uh, doesn't know what he's doing with his life. He's having visions of this little girl that are basically like haunting him. He his promise, and this is, I mean, this is not something that I would put in the synopsis, let's say, but the pretext for why he's going there, like to Italy to make this movie, is because he's going to get a Ferrari, uh,
Mm.
and he wants to drive that. And um, I'm not sure if you wanted me to go over the end as well, but
Um, I mean, the ending actually we kind of spoiled the ending when we spoke about it in the start. He sort of just goes insane, like not insane, but he kind of has a meltdown on stage,
he's definitely
and
insane
then
though. He definitely
what
goes
do you say?
insane. He definitely goes
Yeah, I
insane.
mean it's fair to say it, but I was just thinking more clinically. That's what I was thinking. Like, is that or is it like what would I? But yeah, we can go with a like it goes complete insane.
I
But it
mean,
goes
he's
complete
literally
insane.
schizophrenic though. So
I
what
mean,
other definition are you using if you're saying that that's not insane?
To me, the reason I don't use insane is for the simple fact that I do not think that the visions he's having are unreal, that he's seeing something that's real. So that's why I don't choose to go, that he goes, how to
What
say,
about the
I mean,
visions
uh,
which are clearly like the movie takes pains to show that there is actually a real version, and then there's the version in which he sees, which is absurd.
yeah, we will get to that, but let's just focus on the summary for now.
Okay.
Because now I'm just addressing the question that you posed to me. Why do you not see that he's going in? Not why wouldn't you call it going insane? I mean, we can call it that. It's fine, but I would more classify as meltdown. Whatever happens, he goes crazy. No, but seriously, he goes crazy and goes on like this car ride. He drives way too fast and starts like seeing things
Okay, I
that
have
are
it
either
set
there
up.
or not there. And then he goes to this bridge, and that has been destroyed during a flood or something, I guess. And on the other side, he sees this little gal again, and then he gets into his car and wants to drive over to the other side. And I mean, he has a pretty quick car, so he might have been able to do it. But then a cord that's left on the bridge cuts his head off, and then it ends with the little gal picking up the head.
Yeah.
So that's yeah. So now we're at least in agreement about the plot. But something that you brought up that I didn't pick up, there's two things here. Because I thought that he went the to Italy.
Mhm.
We should have said that it takes place in Italy, but that
I did
he
say it,
goes
yeah.
to Italy. Yeah, that he goes to Italy to because I thought he was just going there to pick up his prize, and that's why he got the Ferrari. But was it that he got paid in the Ferrari for the film, or?
So this is the thing which I find, maybe I'm wrong, but during the when he arrives after he leaves the airport, he is in this taxi drive with this priest guy, right? And the
Yes.
priest is talking about this movie about
Mm,
Jesus, right? And
yeah.
at that moment, and maybe I got it wrong, I thought that the Ferrari was a reward for him performing at the movie. Uh,
Mm.
and I thought that that was why he was in Italy, to make that movie. But I thought that the the like the it wasn't a prize because he didn't really get a prize, did he? Like they put a prize in his hands, but I I didn't get that it was like a reward for his movie as much it was like a hey, you're a great actor, why don't you come here since you're already in the country and get the prize? Because the interview he gives
Oh,
uh, to like the journalist, uh, she says about how he's going to make a new movie and uh, introduces him as someone who is famous for another. And so, from what I gathered, he wasn't, he didn't finish his movie uh, when the movie happens. Uh,
okay.
the, and the Ferrari was like a down payment. It wasn't a reward for what he had already done.
Okay, because what I do know is that he goes, I'm gonna take it from Britain because that's his accent, but to Rome in a plane. So he's not in the country yet. That's the only contention I have with what you just said.
Uh,
Uh,
yes,
be,
that's true.
yeah. So, but yes, here's the thing though. What I think is this that it is because I mean I'm not saying that you can of course see the film like it's just him going completely insane and it's just how to say visions from its own mind and like it's not real anything like how to say not anything of course but the
The
visions he
little
sees are
girl,
not
I
real
do
because he's
not
going
believe
insane.
is real. I don't think the little girl is real. I think that a lot of what he sees is like uh
Warped.
yes, and
Mm.
it's not just warped. It's warped in a certain sense in which it makes like symbolic sense. Uh, like for
Yeah,
example,
he uses a lot of symbolism.
the way that
Fellini did, yeah. Continue.
the way that when he gets the Ferrari and he can
Mm.
finally speed up and accelerate and just think like, well, what is a Ferrari exactly? It's like um, a car whose function is be as fast and for you to look as cool as you drive as possible, and
Yes.
that's exactly how he wants to live his life essentially. And he gets into the Ferrari, and immediately everyone around him becomes a mannequin, right?
Yeah.
And
Or most of them at least. It's unclear.
he, the only times in which they aren't a mannequin, if I remember correctly, is when he stops, right? It's only when he stops the car that they stop
Hmm.
being mannequins. And so I feel like the connection between him driving fast and the people around becoming mannequins is pretty clear. Um, which means that the director or the writer, whoever you wanna, I'm not sure. Is the director also the writer?
I okay, so this is some spoiler territory, right? But the thing is, like Fellini based this particular because it's like part of an anthology. So this part of the anthology is based on an Edgar Allan Poe short story that's called "Never Bet the Devil Your Head." So he
Mm-hmm.
based a lot of it on it, but it's like his own, you know. So
Yeah.
Fellini is, I guess, the writer as well as the director.
Okay.
Continue.
Um. So when Toby is driving around and the people become mannequins, like I feel like the meaning of that is not too difficult to understand. It's like they are not people anymore to him. He doesn't really care uh, about them as he would himself. Um, and like people, everyone has that to a certain degree, right? It's why road rage is a thing. It's why it's so
Mm.
much like someone who is really nice suddenly when they get into a car is like insulting people left and right. It's like as soon as you have a hunk of metal around you, you suddenly feel like you're invincible, and everyone
Mm.
else is your enemy or an obstacle and wants to get in your way and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that
Um,
fits very. I'm just going to add on that because that's a very interesting point you brought up, and that also brings up why he feels confident enough to go up against the quote unquote devil at the end.
Yep.
Well, I think it's the reason I say quote unquote is because I believe that's actually the devil, and you don't believe it's a devil. That's why I said quote unquote. But anyway, but yeah, it maps perfectly to what you said, right? Because that then it makes sense that he would feel confident enough to, yes, I can beat the devil.
Yep. And
But then, then
so go
can I?
ahead. Go
Because
ahead.
this is such an interesting point. Because now it's so interesting. Now there's one point that brings us sort of, even though we have different perspectives, this point will be interesting to see how we tackle. Because what kills Toby Dammit in the end, right?
Yep.
It's not technically the devil; it's a wire on the bridge. That's what kills him.
Yep.
So what's interesting to me then, with what you said, it can beat anything. The thing that doesn't kill Toby Dammit is then not like it's. I mean, technically it's his insanity if we go from your line of reasoning, right?
Yep.
But from mine, it's actually like not the devil either. It's like the wire. It's just a mundane thing that kills him. So, and the thing is, I feel like there's something to say about that, but it's so hard for me to, because it's like an unfinished thought that I should have thought more about. I just thought about it now when you said it, right? That he feels super invincible in this car, and I agree that he does. And to be fair, it's a fucking Ferrari. Of course, you feel invincible driving one of those things, right? But the thing is, like, it's so interesting then that what kills him is nothing insanity or nothing supernatural. It's just a fucking wire, you
Okay.
know?
So I have a very it's a large stretch, but I'll say it anyway because
Go
sometimes
for it.
things aren't as you know sometimes stupid things are also correct. Um, Before he goes to the bridge and dies,
Yes.
you remember there's that scene, right, where he talks with this loco, and the
Yes.
loco is trying to tell him, and I mean, this is really annoying for a viewer, but it's really smart from a director. Uh, the guy is talking Italian, and we've seen from the movie that he doesn't really understand Italian. He just smiles and plays along, but he doesn't know what people are saying. Uh, he's trying.
Sort of, but I see what you mean.
He can read people as well as anyone can read anybody else, but he doesn't actually understand necessarily the context of what they're saying. Otherwise, he wouldn't need a translator, and otherwise the movie wouldn't paint him as being unable to understand what other people are saying. I think it's part of the movie that he doesn't really understand what other people are saying when he's in there, and it's
Shit,
also
I never
part of
thought about
his
that before.
and it's also part of his
Continue.
hubris that he is trying to. He never asks for the translator to help him really. He just pretends that he can understand what other people are saying, even if he doesn't. That's what I got it out of that. But anyway, my point was the guy on the tent warns him that he can't cross the bridge, right? And
Mm.
Toby doesn't really understand what he's saying. He just says, I have to get across. And this is really stupid. But going by the fact that when he arrived from the plane and talked with the priest about making a movie about Jesus, I was thinking, okay, what if the reason that he's coming to Italy, which is, kind of the home of the Catholic Church, was actually
Yes.
because he believes he is being haunted and he wants help, but his life is such a mess that he
Hmm.
doesn't really know how to ask for it. And so the Ferrari is like the pretext by which he can convince himself to come to Italy. Because the first scene of the movie is him saying, uh, "Why did I come to this place?" etc., etc. Right? He's like questioning
Mm.
himself. And the Ferrari is the pretext, but the real reason is he wants to get a cross. Literally a cross. He wants to get rid of the devil, and he
Mm.
thinks that maybe making a movie about Jesus or something to that effect might help him. But instead, he ends up just what's the word for it? Wallowing. I'm not sure. He takes the Ferrari and drives it around, and uh, isn't able to connect with anyone around him. He says that he doesn't need anybody else; he's enough. And then he drives it. He ignores everyone. He literally I mean, it's not clear from the movie, but it looks like he kills someone, or at least like, uh,
Yeah, I ripped that one guy. Yeah,
yeah, you know, I remember the leg breaking, but I'm not sure if the guy died. Uh, and then,
it's his fault being a mannequin. I mean, if you're a walking, talking mannequin, I mean, you will die. That's just, it's too creepy, man. Anyway,
uh,
continue.
maybe, but I was gonna say, isn't there like a villain in your movie which is like a mannequin or something? But anyway, um,
Yes, continue.
so that's sort of his motivation, I think. Like there is his real motivation, which is he's scared of the devil and he wants help from God, and then there's his false motivation, which is also, actually turns out to be his true motivation, which is the Ferrari, which is he wants to be better and he wants to be alone and he wants to be fast and he wants to uh, forget. Those are the things that he wants, right? And
So can I
I,
just ask one thing here then? Because
sure,
what's interesting to me then, because I sort of agree, disagree. The biggest point I disagree about is the Italian point, but whatever. My point here
yeah,
is
maybe,
this,
maybe I
that
got it wrong, but
well,
that's how
well,
I understood the movie, though.
yeah. No, it's possible I got it wrong too. But my question then becomes, would you then see in the end, let's just change one thing, that when because he sort of stands down with the devil in the end, she's on the other side of the bridge, and they're really staring each other down in a way. Would
Yeah,
you say that he would have accepted, how to say, God's love, or God's whatever you want to say? Would he have beaten the devil if he had just walked away? If he had gone into the car and drove back where he came from? Was that
uh,
sort of a hurdle that sort of God, Jesus, or whatever put down in front of him to show that you yourself have to get out of this? To just
I
build on your point.
I think that from the perspective of the devil being real, and that's the
Mm.
perspective of the director, right? Even if the character might, like, in the world that the character is living in, the devil,
Mm.
in my opinion, isn't real. Um, but regardless, what I think
I think he made it muddy. But yeah, I think the director made it muddy. To be fair, continue.
made it what?
Muddy, like he made it unclear whether or not the devil is real or not.
Oh,
That I
okay.
do agree with you with.
Yeah. Anyway, what I think is happening is the message is the devil is tempting the main character to challenge him, and you can
Mm.
say temptation or seduction or whatever. He wants the main character to be consumed by his own self-absorption and his folly and
Mm.
his uh, sort of unmitigated desire to go on his own path without concern for anyone else, or even any obstacles which might prevent him from proceeding. He just wants to go straight forward, and the devil is basically the one that's tempting him. And so it isn't so much whether it would have been his victory if he like walked away. It's more like he wouldn't have been tempted. He would have resisted temptation. Uh, uh,
Up in the
uh,
right
uh,
direction,
yeah, it
sort of.
wouldn't be necessarily like
Mm.
the right thing to do. That's not exactly. It would have been the right thing to do, but it wouldn't be like, oh, suddenly he's now repentant or something. It would have been
No,
one of the
yeah,
many temptations that he would probably have to go through uh, uh,
yeah. And
before he
to be
was ever
fair,
able
no,
to like get rid
it,
of. Because he's not a good person, right? Like that should be
I mean,
obvious.
because then it's also interesting here, right? To add to that, what he just said, and I really want to hear what you think about this, because then one could make the argument that, let's say he had done that, or he realizes that in the end, because to him, to Toby Dammit, the devil is real, right? So if Toby Dammit is standing there looking at the devil, could one not say that he realizes that, okay, either if I try to beat the devil, it will just be this one time, but if I keep rejecting her or him, whatever, I'm gonna call her because it's a fucking little girl, right? So if I
Mm.
reject her, the devil, I will have to do this all the fucking time from this on to I die. So
Yes.
he picks the easier option, because a harder option, the one he should take, right? Because I agree with you. If he had just driven off, like, or walked away, sure, that would have been the right step. but he would have to do that all the time, and we would have been left with, okay, will he ever reach the repentance? Is this is one of the times, or so forth, so forth. So,
Yeah,
what do you think of that?
I think you're right. Yeah, and I think you understood what I was saying. And I mean,
Is that
the,
what you were getting at? Okay, gotcha.
yeah, and from the beginning, right? He like sees the little girl right at the airport. It's like
Mm,
she isn't some random occurrence. This has been happening to him, uh, and you'd have to think that uh, he knows more about her than we the viewers do, and so he was probably that was him sort of giving up, like that last scene. That wasn't him trying to I mean, maybe you know, like the Ferrari is a pretext for him to come to Italy. It's possible that him getting across is the pretext for him uh, actually just wanting to give up, right? And you know,
mm.
get it over with. And I think you might be right about it.
Yeah, so to sort of not completely change direction, but slightly, because we
Okay,
need to talk about the symbolism or
sure.
symbols that's in this film, because there's a lot. Because say what you want about Fellini, but damn, he must have. It's almost like a painter, right? Because the details he has in every fucking shot is insane. You know, it's really inspiring to see. Because what I found interesting when I was watching is that it starts with heaven, right? That you see heaven at the start, and then he has the monologue that you spoke of. That he starts talking about, you know, oh,
Why
I
did
didn't
I
want to come
come?
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that coming here would save. He says maybe not save me, but something to the tune of something good would happen if I go here. And then he says, absurd hope that the plane would take me back home, and I feel like webs are pulling me down. And then and as I said, like the first sound you hear is the plane, and we never see the plane that he's on. We see it from inside, but we never see it landing. Um, and then what's also interesting is the
Oh,
nuns
are you implying
standing
that
in
the plane is actually him after death?
what? What did you
Uh,
mean?
are you saying
Can you
that?
repeat what you said?
Yeah, are you saying that the scene in the plane happens after he dies in reality?
No, I think it's more that it's more like just symbolism to Christianity and stuff,
Okay.
like or mythos or whatever you want to say. That he comes from not that he comes from heaven, but the Fellini wants to remind us, okay, this is sort of because if you think about it, because it's very beautiful, like up there in the sky, but when he's down, it looks like hellfire. It looks like hell when he's down there, because you have these nuns standing in front of this weird red fiery mist. So it looks like red fiery mist. Obviously, nothing is burning, but it looks like that.
Mhm.
And the nuns are standing in front of it, and then they sort of get blown by it, which I found very interesting to sort of signify, the power of evil or something like that, that it makes them sort of stutter in it. And then I guess if I'm right that that was supposed to be hell, or like not hell, but a logo or a sign of hell. What I found very cheeky is that Fellini has these Muslims praying towards it, which was like, okay, that's okay,
I,
I
I,
saw
f-
that.
I feel like he's just trying to like. I mean, I'm not denying the possibility because I didn't see hell there. I was thinking more like he's arriving at a place of chaos, really. Because
There could be chaos. Yes,
yeah,
chaos,
people
yeah.
are people of different backgrounds and religions are in the same
Mm.
place, and they are gathering
Yes,
in
yes, yes.
different
He used that
groups.
term.
And the thing that defines them is their religion, right? Because they are all praying, they're all dressed like uh, members of their religion, and so it seems like that's what he was getting at that moment. But your interpretation might be correct as well. I don't remember what you mean by hellfire. Uh, like
If you,
what in the scene? You can tell me
mm,
the timestamp actually, because I have it open here.
yeah, I was about to say that. If you go to
Let's see.
3 minutes, you should be able to see what I mean. That it looks like a very red glare. when he's there. That's sort of what I mean by hellfire. It's the mist, but the mist is
You mean
supposedly from the plane engines, but
before the before he talks with the people who are taking photos of him, you mean, right?
yes.
Let me mute this and then play it because it looks like it's 2 minutes for me.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, there's a lot of wind and the background it is very red. You were correct. Yeah, there's black woman. There's the nuns which showed up. I don't think they're Muslims actually. I think they're Sikh, right? From the hats.
True, sick.
And
No, but
then
yes.
I don't know how to pronounce Sikh.
Yeah,
This
but
Jewish
the sick.
person walking backwards. I think they're Jewish.
Yes.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
but Sikhs are Muslim too. They just are a different. I don't remember. It's different, but if I'm not mistaken, is it Saudi Arabia? Yes, I think Saudi Arabia is Sikh. Is a
I
Sikh
don't.
country.
I don't think they are. I think you're wrong about that. I think Sikhs are. I mean, I don't know, so I'm not gonna
Yeah,
correct you. I just don't know.
can you just Google it? Because I wanted you to Google something else. I'm sorry, I wouldn't do it myself, but I have
Sure,
no fucking computer.
it's fine.
Can you just Google?
So
But Sikhs are Muslim. I mean, I might be
are
wrong, but just
Sikh
double check.
Muslim followers of the Sikh religion is an ethical monotheism fusing elements of Hinduism and Islam. Yeah, so it's a mixture.
Aha.
It's another thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
What
Well,
else did you
learned
want
something
me
new
to Google?
today.
What else did you want me to
If
Google?
Fellini, the creator of the director, is he Christian or is he like?
Fellini
Because I'm interested in
director
that actually.
wiki. Federico Fellini, Italian filmmaker, blah, 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 Baroque. Uh, he came from a bourgeois Catholic family.
Okay.
I'm not
So I guess,
sure if
or
he
maybe,
necessarily is one, but it looks like he was one.
I mean, to be fair, still,
Oh,
I mean,
here,
even if
religious
he's like,
views. Was
okay,
raised in a Roman Catholic family, avoided formal activity in the Catholic Church. Uh, I go to church only when I have to shoot a scene in church, or for an aesthetic or nostalgic reason. For faith, you can go to a woman. Maybe that is more religious. So yeah, he's not really Christian.
fucking based. Okay, like, that was a Giga Shad moment if I saw one, right? No, but to be fair, like even if he's an atheist, it's not like he can make great Christian art or whatever you want to call it. Because I mean, I think this is like, but I guess we both agree that it is a Christian, maybe not Christian film is the wrong word, but it talks about it and it's very heavily a Christian message. Like if I gun to my head, if someone asked me, is this a Christian movie with a Christian message? I would say yes. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, sure. I would think so. Yes.
Yeah,
I'm not, I mean,
yeah,
I just
but
think it's like a because I don't like to think in those terms. Like the guy is
no,
an
me neither. I
atheist,
agree.
like the director. Uh,
Yes.
Maybe you don't think he is. I would consider him an atheist from what he said, right? And
Yeah, I would too. I would too.
I
I just
would
thought it was
think,
funny. I just said it was funny what he said. That's it. Continue.
and he obviously was trying to be funny as well, right? He maybe not doesn't
Yeah.
even believe what he said, but uh, to me it seems that he's showing that people can be so twisted from their moral decisions that it might be better not to even go that road uh, and avoid it as much as you can. And I'm not sure if he was trying to like make a case for the devil being real precisely, but it's obvious that if it isn't real, it's symbolizing something which is real according to him.
Mm.
Uh,
Yes,
and
yes, yes,
then
yes.
it works out to the same uh, result anyway.
Yeah. So there's actually three things that I saw here and I want to bring up that I found interesting. One is just short, but it's also interesting that there's so much light in the start of the film, like flashing lights, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of noise too. Like a lot of weird, like they make sense, the noises, don't get me wrong, but it's very noisy in the start.
Yeah.
And then there's two other things that that's like foreshadowing that someone died in a car in a sorry in a crash with in the at the start of the film, which I think is foreshadowing. It has to be. It might be a little too on the nose, but I felt like yes, this is foreshadowing,
When did
and it makes sense.
someone dies in a car? I don't remember.
It's not that. What happens is that you drive past like you see like the police has shut an area off, and then you see blood on the ground, and then you see a motorcycle that's like wrecked. So you kind of see that he Fellini sticks on that moment for a while. That's what I meant. So
Yeah,
it's
I'm
obviously been a
seeing.
crash.
Yep, there's
Yeah,
a car with
and
the hood
then
open, and then there's a motorcycle, and yeah, they're closing off the scene. So you're right.
you have the gypsies, right?
Yeah.
Uh, that do not. One of them come up to him, and then she looks at his palm and says, "I don't want to read your hand," and walks off. And I here's the thing: it's a little to some people. I guess it can be a little too on the nose because it's been done so many times.
I
But
agree.
for me, it fits because it takes you out a little of the surrealism of the rest of the film, right? Because the film is very surreal, like written and like what you see and stuff. But in this moment, he grounds it in reality in a way, in the way that if someone was chased by the devil and a gypsy who would, in this case, I guess, be a powerful magician or whatever, would see this, this is the reaction she would have. So he tries to ground it in reality somehow. And
Okay, so
I just like that. Continue.
here's what I didn't like about it. I felt that from what we have seen from the character, he
Mm.
would definitely not believe whatever the gypsy woman said. So I don't understand why it is that he was even interested in getting his palm read. I think
Because it was
that
hot, probably. But continue.
I'm not so sure if that was the reason. Maybe, but uh, he was very like forward about it. And like compare that to the scene in which he's like falling asleep before like the awards, and then there's this woman which shows up, and he's like, "I will be for you, and you will be for me. I will be always loyal and stuff and stuff." And then 5 minutes later, he goes on stage and starts to ramble about how he doesn't need anyone like that. Uh,
Yeah.
it's like I feel like it's too contradictory for me to accept it as uh, not just a decision from the director from thinking that he needed that scene, even if it was something that it didn't make sense for the character to choose. Um, so that's why I didn't like it. But from a viewer's perspective, I understand that you kind of build a little bit of tension by implying that there's something so terrible in his future that she doesn't even want to say it. Uh, so yeah, there's good and bad about it, but yeah, you understand why I didn't like it.
Yeah, I understand because to you, like, or how to say, I don't want to speak for you, but I do understand your point. What I'm, but I think I would, if you, I'd say, isolate the two scenes from each other, right? So you isolate where he in the gypsy woman scene, and then with the other woman scene that we will get to, I'm sure. But
Yeah.
the gypsy woman scene to me was very, how do I say? It's when at the start when he wants to stall time before going to the thing, and he feels like a kind of guy who would like just try something. Why not? Like for the hell of it, let's do it, right? Because you also see that later when they want to take a photo with him, and he's just like, okay, fine, let's do a photo. And so to me, and it feels like he wants to mess with people too. So to me, and since you can clearly see that the other people in the car didn't want to speak to the gypsies, it would seem like he did just do that to be an asshole to them. And but then it backfired because he got upset when she wouldn't read his hand.
Okay.
But I do see that's what I would say about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if he was trying to stall for time. In fact, he seemed to just want to get it over with, right? Because he wanted the Ferrari as soon as possible.
Mm. Yeah, that's a
Maybe
good
I'm wrong.
counterpoint.
Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not sure. He seemed to like be on a hurry all the time.
Mm.
Yeah, and when it comes to symbolism, one of the obvious ones is his scarf. right? Uh,
Mm.
he always wears it, and he's always sweating as well, which
Oh yeah, and he
beg-
keeps trying his head with it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
begs the question: why are you wearing a scarf if you're sweating? It's like that's like the one thing that you wear when it's cold and immediately makes you feel uh, overheated, basically. And so, if you're
But
sweating so
dude,
much,
it's
you should
explained.
go ahead.
It's explained in the film though.
Yeah, no, that what I'm getting at.
You
Like,
know, because
there's
you
this
know,
moment
because
in which he's
Aaron
finally
gives
alone,
her
right?
Aaron gives
Oh,
her
shut the
scarf.
fuck
You
up!
know,
Shut the fuck up, Gagger. Shut the fuck up.
continue,
Um,
continue.
yeah, so in the movie later, when he's finally in the Ferrari and he's finally driven
Hmm?
away from everyone else, and then he's in the quiet of the night, he finally takes off his scarf and then he starts screaming, right?
Yes.
And then it's the first time that we get a glimpse of what he actually feels like because he doesn't have to keep up his own persona anymore. He can just be himself. And what it is, and that's obviously the symbol of the scarf, right? He's literally like able to breathe now because he doesn't have to
Hmm.
control what he's saying. And then he starts to scream because that's how he feels. And uh, I mean, I think like that symbolism is pretty simple, right? Um,
Yeah, I
what
didn't pick
else?
up on that because I didn't think about that. But no, I agree. I just agree with you on that point.
Yeah, and then let me see, because there's a lot that I wrote about this. Um, right. So you think that the little girl being the devil and being real is something, but I feel like it might have been like a cow stool situation. Uh, do you
What you
know
said, I
what
didn't hear you.
a cow stools? Do you know what that is?
No,
Yeah,
explain it to me.
it's a term I learned recently actually, which is probably why you haven't heard of it before. But it's like a reference to like a comic made. I don't remember, but it's an old comic that only has one panel, and the comic is like if a cow made tools, and then there's this cow which is standing on two legs in front of a table, and on the table there are like three or four tools, and then one of the tools looks like a poorly designed like saw, like that one might be used to like saw a tree or a branch or something, and the other three are you can't really guess what they do. Um, so uh, later on, people kind of asked the comic artists about it, and there was like a lot of discussion about what this comic meant and stuff. And the artist just said, no, it just the tools are poorly made because they're made from a cow or by a cow because a cow doesn't have hands. That was the whole
Mm-hmm.
meaning of the comic, right? But people like created a lot of like theories about what the tools were. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so when people say it's a cow's tool situation, it's like whenever like an author like um, explains something and then they fill like let's say the area around that concept with stuff that isn't really explained, and then the reader or the viewer is supposed to like come up with explanations for what it is, even though the author or the writer didn't actually have a purpose for it necessarily. And so when people say it's a cow stew situation, it's like, oh, the author didn't really think about it, like or didn't have like a set meaning for it. He just put it there for people to make up their own explanations for it. And so I think that that's what the little girl is supposed to be because I don't have a better explanation necessarily. I do think that um, it's like it is a delusion from the main character in the world, and but I'm not sure why it's a little girl, and I'm also not sure why she has a ball. I'm also not sure why she's like dancing, sort of, or so giddy. Um, I feel like he just decided to just oppose like these images which are not very uh, uh, close. Like a
I
little girl
mean,
and the devil are probably pretty fucking far apart normally. And
Yeah, I think I know why. Because he says at some point, because I did write down here exactly. He says this is what he says to
okay.
me when asked about because I can also bring it up in the interview. They say, "Do you believe in God?" He says, "No." And then say, "Do you believe in the devil?" And he says, "To me, the devil is cheerful, agile. To me, the devil looks like a little gal."
Hmm.
And here's the thing. I think it is to symbolize kind of the antithesis to Toby Dammit, because to me, I still got the feeling that he takes himself really seriously, right? Whereas the devil doesn't take herself seriously.
I,
She just dances, plays with a ball, chills
I
out. Like that's how I took it. That's why I think the devil is portrayed that way.
I mean, just look at the
And to
interview
bring,
though. Like all his answers to the interviewer are jokes, all of them. He never talks about himself seriously, not really. And so I'm not sure if I agree with you that the devil is like an antithesis to Toby Dammit. Uh, I feel like they're not very different, except in power, let's say, or in size, depending on how you'd frame it.
yeah, no, actually, I need to speak about one of the best bangers he pulls up on the interviewer. He, she said something like, "Oh, it said that you had some very least favorable jobs before, like some disappointing jobs before," and then he says, "No, I was never a news presenter."
Yeah,
I was like, okay, that was a good one. So I
yeah.
mean, he's really funny. Like, okay, he's really. That's why I love the character. He's. I mean, he's an asshole. Don't get me wrong, but he's very funny. That's why you. How to say it? Because just to bring back to your point to address it, that you don't think that he takes himself too seriously. I feel that he does, for the simple fact that he seems like so above it. That's what I got from his.
Oh, he's definitely
How
aloof.
to say?
Yeah, that's right. But
I'm
I
above this.
I
That's
don't
what I mean that he
I
takes
don't think
himself too
it's
seriously too.
I don't think that like being aloof and taking yourself seriously are the same thing though. I think he's aloof, but he doesn't take himself seriously because
That's what you meant again. That's what you took from it
yeah,
again.
like they ask him, "Oh, have you ever taken LSD?" And then he says, "Ah, when I want to feel normal." It's like it's sort of. I mean, I'm not sure about when the movie came out, if that was like a gotcha or a new thing, but this is sort of a common like reply to that kind of question. Um,
Mm.
but regardless, it wouldn't be the answer of someone who took themselves seriously, right? It would be the answer of someone who took themselves seriously would have been either yes or no, not a deflection like that. Um,
I mean,
so
it depends on what. I mean, let's because otherwise we're gonna get into this very specific point when there was other points I wanted to bring up, unless you really, really want to discuss it, of course. But
no,
to me, it's just to not count about some people that I met. They are like that. They pretend that it's like this. Feeling I'm above it all, so I'm just gonna make fun of you and like get fucked. Like that's sort of why I think feels he's above it all.
I do think he
But
thinks he's above it all, but I don't think that's the
yeah,
same as taking
okay,
himself
it's just take
seriously.
the same for serious. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, no, that's what I should have said. I just realized that's why I think he takes himself too seriously. Like he thinks he's above it all. That's why
yeah,
he
yeah,
takes himself too serious.
yeah. No,
But
no,
anyway,
that I agree with.
to so there's something because I also wanted to present the argument that I do believe that this gal is actually the devil. And the first point is, I mean, obviously you have the scene that I don't think it's that strong of an evidence because then that could just be him going bananas. Is in the airport when you first see the scene when he goes down to pick up, like he goes down to pick up something, but he doesn't pick up anything, and then you see it from later on when he is in the interview, and then you see the devil, and like the room is completely empty. It's just him and the devil in the room, right? So, but I don't think that's a strong enough evidence because I mean that could just be him being crazy. The reason I believe that it is the devil is the ending, because when he loses his head, you see the little girl pick his head up, And to me, it's like, okay, if he was just crazy, then we wouldn't see that. It would just cut to black when he died. But it doesn't cut to black. It shows more. It shows because the only, if you think about it, that's the only time. And please correct me if I'm wrong about this one point. Uh, it feels to me that that scene is the only time you see something outside of Toby Dammit's own perspective, and that is the ending. And then you do see the little girl pick up his head.
It's hard to say when it's his perspective and when it isn't, but you're right in the sense that the camera is always following him, more or
Hmm.
less. Although there are circumstances in which characters talk to each other and he is not privy to the conversation necessarily, so maybe not. Uh, and you're right, that's one way to see it. Uh, that it's impossible. Like if we take the record of what is shown in the camera to be the truth, except insofar it might be like a representation of what the character is going through. Um, then yeah, he wouldn't be able to see anything after he's decapitated. But I mean, I don't really take it as necessarily representative of the whole movie just because it happened in the end, right? Um, because once we establish that he is going insane, uh, we can say that maybe he didn't really die. Maybe he crashed his car and he's having a nightmare in which he's dying. We don't really know that, but it does seem the case that uh, the director chose for the little girl to appear as if she was real in the end. But
Mm.
because of the fact that we have seen again and again how what is happening in his head is not what's happening in reality, I feel like you know, it's sort of lame if the answer is, yeah, he's having delusions and the delusions are real. It's like, come on, let's pick one,
Yeah,
shall we?
yeah, it can't be. I mean, sort of. I mean, just riddle me this for a second, right? Let's say you have a schizophrenic person, a true schizo, right? Not,
Not
and
you, but
they,
someone who's really schizo.
but someone who, and this person, right? Let's say they actually see a werewolf, right?
Yeah.
And then this werewolf haunts them, and like they explain like, oh, it was like this and this, and then later on, researchers shows up and realizes, oh fuck, it was an actual real werewolf. Then he was crazy and experienced a horror. To bring it
Yes.
into a more realistic example that I
Yes.
should
Yes.
have done
Yes.
is,
Yes. The problem
yeah,
is
but
when
you,
you put
okay,
that in a story, because then you're putting like multiple absurd explanations for what could have been explained by one, and I feel like that's just poor storytelling. Why are
I
you giving multiple explanations for the same phenomena when like either of them are is already hard to swallow, and then you're putting two? It's like,
I mean, I disagree for the simple fact that he wants people to talk about it, to do what you and me are doing right now, right? To kind of suss it out what's up. But I know that's not really the main point you're driving home here. So
yeah,
the point to address that one is that I feel that both the interpretations of that he's just crazy or that he's sort of crazy, but the devil is real, are functional throughout the entire story, except when it comes to that one scene when she picks up Toby Dammit's head. I remember I had a similar discussion about this movie on this same topic. I just don't remember the details of it. But anyway, to bring
I
back to
mean,
that point is that
unless I mean, I feel like the explanation that I gave is also valid. It's like, yeah, he might just
yeah,
be having a nightmare though.
yeah, but the problem to me is that what I see is what I accept. So to me, if it was just having a nightmare, then it would be bad but for another reason. Let me just explain a little more what I mean. Is that because then it's like, okay, so anything could happen off screen. Could there be like a Pegasus arriving on the side too that we don't know of? Can we explain it that way? I'm not saying this to you, obviously. I'm talking this to Fellini, the director, if that was his intention. So if Fellini said that, oh yeah, it was just a nightmare, then I would be like, okay, why? Like what? What else happens off screen that I don't see? Like World War Three? Is this Silent Hill secretly? So again, not saying to you, I'm saying it to the director in this case. So
The
that's
thing is
why
that
I feel
this
I
it
can't
being
really buy
a
that completely.
it,
Continue.
it's like a what is it called? Fuck, I forgot the name of the guy. Occam's razor. You go for the
Mm,
simplest explanation, right? And then,
mm,
if you see tracks of something in your backyard, you can either think, well, someone with those prints came over and walked around and then left, or you can think, aliens just stole some boots and then walked around and then left, and it's like, maybe it was aliens, but you'd go for the simpler explanation, which is it's probably not an extraordinarily rare or even impossible perhaps event. It was a simpler one, a more likely one. And the problem is that when you have a story in which like delusions fit, um, when you also introduce at the end an element which says, no, the delusions are not enough to explain this, um, then you go in hindsight and you watch all the events in which it was clear that he was having delusions, and then it's like, oh, suddenly aliens are not enough. It's like, oh, it's both aliens and vampires that were on the backyard making the prints, because that's the only explanation which is possible now. And I feel like
I mean,
that's too far. That's when you're reaching territory in which um, you're giving too much leeway to the creativity, and you're like forcing uh like the explanation not to make sense for there to not be like a canonical interpretation, which is like
I mean,
it's it's too forceful,
I
I think.
disagree. I disagree for the simple fact that he does bring up very early in the film that he's haunted by the devil.
Yeah,
So,
but
and then you see her
yeah, but
in
that's not,
this very well written horror scene, might I just add, because I really love it. So that's why I mean, if he just showed up at the end, if he says, "Oh yeah, I'm haunted by the devil," and then you see nothing, then sure, I would agree with you. Then it would be super strange that the devil just shows up at the end. It would be very hard to make that make sense for me to
uh
swallow that. But
no,
in this case, he does. Or have I missed your point?
I'm not sure. What I'm saying is that even if like the start of the story shows vampires and aliens, um
Mm.
that doesn't mean that by the end of the story, if the explanation was, oh yeah, it was vampires and aliens, but then throughout the whole story, you saw a different explanation which didn't require vampire or aliens, and in fact made the vampire and aliens seem as absurd as they sound. That now it suddenly works again. It's like that doesn't erase the rest of the movie. The ending doesn't erase the rest of the movie. We know that he
Yeah.
was having delusions, and so why are we accepting two wildly different explanations for what should have been collapsible into one? And what it comes down to, I think, is the director trying to, like I said, make sure that there isn't a real explanation. Like he's trying to make
Okay.
it like
That I agree with.
illogical on purpose, I think. And I don't like that. I think that's poor writing.
I
I
mean, to be fair, how do I say it? Okay, I need to actually ask this in a question. How do I ask it? Yes. Is it that you think it's bad storytelling, or is it because you're not a big fan of surrealism? Because this is like a typical. I mean, this movie is a surrealistic film. It is. And now I'm not even gonna touch postmodernism and modernism on this one at all, because surrealism is big enough of a foe to talk about. So I mean, to me, what I disagree is that since it's surrealism, it makes sense that it would be, at the end, what the hell happened? What like I can't really get a definitive answer because I have conceded or that sure there is an explanation that he was crazy, yet I don't think so. For the biggest, as I said, the smoking gun for me is that the devil picks up his head at the end.
Yeah.
But so again, I ask: is it because you don't like surrealism, or is it more that you think it's, even though whatever your feelings are about surrealism, to you it's still bad storytelling? If it was like I said, because I think that
I'm not sure if I think in genres like that. I feel like what happens is the
continue.
movie presents itself as sort of like a, not exactly, but you know what I mean, like a murder mystery, right? You're
Yeah, in a way,
you're
in a
going
way.
through the story trying to figure out what's happening to this character because the story, it doesn't really present a lot. It doesn't start with like a build up in which like the problems are presented one by one gradually until you have a full picture and then comes the resolution. That's not how it happens, right? It picks up and he's already haunted by the devil. He's already talking about it. Like it's like we started reading the book from the middle instead of from the start. That's how it
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
feels,
yes,
right?
yes, yes, yes.
And so the whole story, you're trying to uh, pick up the pieces of the puzzle to try to understand what's happening here. It's like, is he really haunted? Like, is this like a supernatural phenomenon, or is this like a drunkard having delusions due to either abstinence or alcohol poisoning, or schizophrenia? Who knows? Um, and then the story goes on, and then it keeps showing how there is something which he sees, and then when he looks away, we, like the viewers, can see in the camera that what he saw, be it like the mannequins or for example, in the bridge, right? He talks with the guy. Uh, we see that it's a guy in the window, uh, complaining about him driving too fast, and then when he gets out of the car, he sees the guy as like someone who is on all fours and has like a pig mask and is living on a tent. Um,
That thing, yeah.
and so it's pretty fucking clear that the real thing is not the pig masked guy on all fours living on a tent. It's the guy on the window, but the pig guy is what Toby saw or sees. Uh, and so we know that delusions are a
They
part
saw
of what
both.
is happening, right? What?
Now I thought they saw both. That he first sees the guy in the window, then when he steps out, it's the pig mask.
No, because he's still driving very fast when the guy in the window shows up. So he
Hmm.
wouldn't have been able to see the guy. I don't think he.
Do you have the scene?
I
Because now
can
I'm
I
unsure
can
what
pull
scene you're talking about.
I can pull it up. Uh,
Yeah, but I can't see it. That's the problem.
you can go to my Twitch stream if you want.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
here it is. So here he is on the page. Here's the devil. Where's the guy on the here? Dude, that looks so scary though. Yeah, so
Yeah, just can you just send me the
okay,
stream in the
never
chat?
mind. It looks like I'm wrong. It's twitch.tv/neoroot. Yeah, no. So yeah, you're right. He first sees the guy on the window after the
Mm-mm.
car has crashed. And then the guy
Mm.
talks with him in Italian. Uh, then he goes to inspect the guy. Yeah, and then when he actually looks at the guy is on all fours and he has a mask. I thought it was a pig mask before, but it looks like it's some other mask. And he's living on a
I think it's
tent.
just a human mask or something. Okay, cool. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So he's
But
not looking at the guy when he's talking to him, and then we see that it's a guy on the window. And then when he goes to look at the guy, it looks like a guy in all fours on a tent. So, I mean, that's as direct as we can get from this being his perspective, right? He sees the guy as something which he is not. So he's delusional. Um,
hasn't he? You're talking about the ending now, right?
yeah, this is 39 minutes into the movie.
Yeah. So doesn't he stop the car, and then like the car has stopped when he looks at the guy in the window?
Yes,
Hasn't
yes,
he stepped out? Yeah. So,
yes.
so
He
that's what I
he
mean. So
has.
to me,
I was wrong
yeah.
about
So to
that. I
me,
thought it was
okay,
he.
cool. Okay, got you. So my interpretation is that, I mean, your interpretation is that when he looks closer and he really sees them, then he sees them from his perspective, these crazy, like, demons, whatever you want to call them. demon creature thing. But when, but to me, it's more that he sees both,
I
and
don't
he's
think
unsure
so,
what he sees.
because when the camera portrays the guy, he's looking in a direction, and then when he goes to look at him, he turns back. And so it seems that he wasn't looking at the guy when the camera was portraying him as a human. And then when he looks back and actually goes towards the voice, is when we see the guy in all fours living on a tent. And so I don't think he ever saw the guy as a guy on the window.
Couldn't that just be that is actually a demon, also,
I mean,
or a
potentially, but
denizen of
then
hell? I should.
but then you'd have to go back and explain also the mannequins and the stuff. Like every
Yeah, I mean,
situation in which he sees something which is not there, as like for example, you saw it yourself, right? When
this
he
is so
goes to
interesting. Continue what you said, but I just had such a light bulb.
yeah,
Continue.
when he goes and picks up something on the floor which isn't there, we
Mm.
see him kind of dancing, right? And then he let me show here. I think it's
Okay, now I
here.
have to. I don't have to go to because I
Yeah,
didn't
here.
open up your Twitch stream. But give me one
Yeah,
second. I'm just gonna open up.
I'm showing it right
So let me
now.
do
So
this.
there's probably like a 5 second
Twitch.
delay or something.
Yeah,
So he goes down as if
twitch.tv.
he's like curtsing, or if he's like grabbing the hand of someone, and then he goes back when he realized that people were watching him. And so since
Yeah,
he
I
had just seen the devil, the scene before, if I remember correctly, maybe I'm wrong. I thought he saw the girl with the ball. It's like he's actually
mm.
interacting with the devil right here in the scene.
Yeah, I can't see it because I can't. I have to log in and stuff, and I don't have that information. Can you send me a screenshot
Sure,
if it's like really?
it's
I don't know if this is like
difficult.
really super important to your point, but go for it.
I mean, I'm not sure because maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just like building up from what I'm saying. Uh,
Okay, okay,
yeah,
okay. I know. Okay, so this is the start of the film,
yeah.
right?
So I sent two screenshots to you. So one is when he starts
Yes.
dancing, and
That's
another when
great.
he's kneeling, and the people are watching him. And if I
Mm.
remember correctly, he had just seen the devil here somewhere, playing with the ball. That was the first time she appeared. Um,
Yes,
and
I believe so too.
so the implication here is he's interacting with the devil, but
Mm.
we see that there's nothing there and that people are watching him. And so the implication is he's the only one seeing the devil.
Mm.
Um, which to me
Okay,
is another thing which points to it being a delusion.
yeah, I hear what you're saying because I agree that this point. That's why I also didn't when I said why I believe it's the devil, the real thing, is why I don't use this as evidence for that simple fact, right? Because it's like, yeah, this could be him going insane. Uh, what I think the light bulb I had is that what I think Fellini did, right, and it's really masterful, is that he because I was listening to this debate not long ago with Ben Shapiro and Alex O'Connor is his name, who's an atheist. And during the debate, Ben Shapiro says, now when we're having this discussion, I know I have a giant escape hatch above me because I'm religious, right? That I can just escape through when it comes to this argument that I don't know or God works in mysterious ways. And if we apply the same thing here, I just realized something that both you and me have two giant escape hatches above us in this whole discussion. I didn't realize it until now that both of us have it. Yours is, oh, he's just being crazy. That's why he's seeing all this weird shit. And I have the escape hatch of, oh, those are actually demons from hell. And the devil, who's so powerful, can just control whatever she wants.
Yeah, and that's
I
the
just
problem,
realized
right?
that. So
The
yes,
problem is
that's why
the
that's
problem with the
so
writing
well done
is
by Fellini.
I don't think it's well done. I think it's deliberate, but I don't think it's well done. I think that it plays with the story in such a way in which at first you don't know what's going on, and then it becomes increasingly clearer that he's having delusions, and then in the end it subverts that. And by subvert I mean it shows something which makes it doubtful that that was the case all the time. But then it really isn't. It doesn't feel like a good twist because all it does is like uh sort of flush down all of the evidence which came before. It doesn't build on it. It just uh, contradicts it. And it's like, okay, so we have a perfect recording of someone being place A and of someone in being place B. And it's like, what are we supposed to believe? Both are proven, let's say, but they can't both be true. And yet we have evidence, more than enough evidence of both. And it's like, okay, so something went wrong here. Someone fucked up. And I blame the author. The author shouldn't have introduced something which contradicted what should have been a pretty clear explanation of what's happening in the end. And it's like,
But
uh,
just imagine this instead. Imagine that at the end, when the devil picks up the head, that it would have been a point of view shot instead.
yeah,
That is a point of view of a hand, like the little girl reaching down her hand towards him.
yep,
Then that would have been fixed, because then I could have still said, no, that's the devil. And you could have still said, no, he's going crazy. But to you, that changes. So what I'm saying that, sorry, let me just gather my thoughts. Yes. So what you're saying is that the ending when you see the devil pick up the head goes contra. That makes you now believe that that is what's happening. That you don't buy that he's going crazy explanation anymore.
yeah, because that, like,
Okay.
the way that the scene is presented is pretty clear that he's dead, right? I
Yes.
can give you my lame explanation, which is, oh no, he crashed the car and he's dying, but he's having a nightmare, and it's the devil which shows up in the nightmare. But
Okay. So it's more stylistic argument you're making,
I'm saying
or
that
how to say?
the director is pretty clearly trying to portray the devil as real in the final scene, because we see
Okay.
the I'm seeing it right now. The wire is dangling. There's blood dripping down it. The head is fallen, and then the girl picks
Mm.
it up. And it's like, why would the girl be picking up a head if uh, the guy isn't dead? Uh, how
Mm.
is his he? How does he know that his head fell off? Let's put it that way. If he's having a
He's just
nightmare,
trolling, bro.
yeah,
Continue.
obviously it makes no sense. And so from from a certain point to the movie, that for like 98% of the movie, the illusions make sense, and then the last 2% they don't make sense anymore. And that's why I feel like uh it's not good writing. I feel like it would have been way more satisfying if somehow he made the delusions be less, uh how do I put it, if he was able to portray the delusions as if they looked like delusions, but they could have been real, and then in the end it was revealed that the devil was real, then I would have felt that was a better movie, because I'd feel that uh, then it would have been a twist, right? It's like, oh, he led me in this direction, but I was wrong, and it makes sense because it adds on to it, and it's like there isn't something like that. There isn't a, oh, I thought it was illusions, but it was the devil, and it makes more sense that it's the devil looking back because of this and this and this, and there isn't something like that. It's just like a,
I got you.
fuck you, you're
Yeah,
wrong
but then it would.
because of what I have decided here. It's like it doesn't feel good.
I mean, one could argue that. I mean, because now it becomes more how to say, not stylistic, but then it's, stylistic is that, yeah, I would have feel it would have been more powerful doing this rather than that. So I mean, and then it's like more a taste issue that we won't really get around, I feel. But that's not to say that I hear what you're saying. I mean, it would be cool if you brought those scenes with him too. But I did, unless you wanted to say something else about that, I did want to bring up two final points before, because as I said, I need to go very soon because
Uh,
of my fucking bag, right?
I guess there's a few things I could say also, which aren't
Mm.
related to that, which might
Mm.
be shorter. So maybe I'll get them out of the way right now. Um,
Yeah, sure, go for it.
so one of the things is the movie portrays the whole like movie industry as full of fucking sycophants and like insufferable people. and I'm not sure how much of it is like fair criticism and how much is like the director like piling on. It's hard to say, but it's annoying because I feel like the main character is unlikable, but everyone else is even kind of worse. Um, and so it's really annoying most of the time, and it's like, you know, people are literally doing whatever they can to like promote themselves and like get close to him and try to promote their own career. And they say it's like they go and say like, oh, I can sing, I can dance, I can do this, I can do that, I can do 1,000 impressions. And there's this woman who brings up her child and says, oh, she's only 12. And then the main character is like, oh, is she a virgin? Which is, I mean, it's hard to
Very
say.
creepy, yeah.
Yes, it's hard to say because you're right. The main character is sort of an ironic asshole, as he shows in the
Mm,
interview, right? So maybe he's asking
yes.
this just to get to the point and try to scare off the woman who's bothering him. Um,
Mm,
but it's also possible because he's clearly like uh, a man whore, for lack of a better word. He's
yeah.
obviously like he likes women. Um, and so there is that, and there's like um, it's hard, but like that scene in which I feel like that's probably the best scene in the movie, in my opinion. It's when uh, this old guy comes into stage, right? And everyone, like, so far, a lot of people were presented with prizes, right? A lot of awards. And there's a lot of smiles and claps and stuff, and that's all fine and good. But then when the guy comes into stage, like, literally everybody's clapping, everybody's smiling, and it seems to be genuine this time. It doesn't seem to be fake
Mm,
anymore when the old guy comes in. And because people
yeah.
like come close to him and clap, and there's a lot of smiles and stuff, and then the old guy comes into stage, and then the the host asks something like, "Do you have something prepared? There's something you want to say?" And then he's like, "Yeah, I was gonna play the trombone, but you don't have equipment for me here." And it's like big laughs because it's an old guy. Of course, he doesn't have the the breath to play that. And this is the part which I really like, which is Toby actually laughs at that joke, and then he starts to trail off that laugh with like a frown, and then it looks like he's crying a little.
Mm,
And it's right after that he goes into stage, and then he goes on a rant about not being a good actor. And I feel like what's being said here is something like he just sees like someone who is actually a good actor, and he has like a great career behind him and a lot of respect. And then he sees that he also has a lot of accolades and a lot of people who thinks he is really good, but he doesn't actually have half the talent of the guy in stage. He just has like the
yeah, yeah.
popularity. And so
And
he
the sycophant, yeah.
starts, yeah, and so he starts like he goes on stage, and then he's scared, he feels small, and then he starts confessing about being a drunkard and blowing up his last movie because he was drunk on set. And yeah, I feel like that's the like that sequence is the best of the movie. And I just
Yeah, and that,
wanted to point out that that's something I really liked.
yeah, no, no, it's a good scene because it also leads in to this other scene. But just to point out that, yeah, I didn't think of that actually. What you just said, that everyone seems genuine, and Toby himself seems happy about it.
Yeah,
So,
until he
but
starts, you know,
yeah,
basically
spurting
crying
out.
from it. Yeah,
Yeah, no, but yes, exactly. At 23:50, at this time stamp, around there, is when that woman shows up
yeah,
and starts speaking everything you ever wanted. And then, but that's not really what she says because she says something, and that was because first I thought it was just another sycophant, right? But because I
yeah.
had forgotten about this woman. But then she says, "You have lost your faith, but held on to your confidence, and you found me." And I'm thinking to myself as I was actually watching it on the plane yesterday, is that like supposed to be? maybe not an angel, but like an agent of the divine, like truth, goodness, something like this, because it would fit. There would be something like this, or this works in either way. What you see it, if it's crazy or if it's real, right?
I think it would make
Because
sense because she shows up right after he laughs at the guy who is like a genuine
mm,
good actor, and then he starts crying,
yes,
and then she shows up. And so I
yes,
do think it makes sense, like uh, in sequence, right? So what's happening is he's seeing someone who is actually good, and then he knows that he isn't as good as them, but he still has people treating him like he is, and then he feels bad about that, and then he goes and confesses about it. But then, and this is, I'm not sure if it's explained in the story exactly, but he refuses her, right? He rejects her.
yes,
And
yeah. Rejection of God, 3015.
yeah, and I mean, you can just chalk it up to his decision. This is what he chose. But
Yes,
I'm not sure if the director or the movie or whatever you want to say makes it clear why he's rejecting her. It's clear that he's saying that he thinks he's self sufficient and stuff, and that makes sense from a certain point. But I feel like um, him uh, having that breakdown just before and stuff was actually like a better constructed scene than the rejection. I'm not sure if there is as much uh, like build up or like how do I put it, like symbolism for why he rejects the person. Uh, and so it doesn't feel like as good a scene. If there was like a really solid, yeah, she shows up actually. I didn't know that. I'm seeing it again. She shows up during
yeah.
the speech. Yeah,
Mm.
I'm not sure why he rejects her really, and I feel like it would have been a maybe it would have bumped up the score to 6.5 or 7 if the director managed to uh, make it clear why it is that Toby decides to reject her.
I think it's just because
Um,
of his. I mean, it sounds like such a cop out of me saying it, but I think it's just because of his own hubris. It could
yeah,
either be
that's
because of
what I
his
think
own
as well.
hubris,
But
but it's
maybe
also
maybe
what
maybe
I
it's
said
also
earlier.
because he doesn't think he deserves her. Maybe that's also a
That's also
possibility.
another one. Yeah, but the third one is also what I said earlier, right? That when he faces down with the devil, he realizes that in order for me to reject the devil, I will have to do it for the rest of my life. Unless if I beat her here, I don't have to. Whereas, and that could be one of the reasons he also rejects her earlier, because he already knew that. But then, and that becomes a little more tragic then, because if he had had that woman with her, who could either be, it could either be like someone who wants to be his lover. Right? It doesn't have to be a divine
Yeah,
angel or something, right? It
yeah,
can
and
just be
she
an
shows up in
agent.
the crowd as well. So it seems
Mm.
like the director wants to
It's
portray
a
her as real, not as an illusion.
yes. No,
Uh,
exactly. Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. Because the thing is, that's something that I mean, it's interesting to think of that if she's like actually sent by someone, because then it would fit in that at the point where he's actually the most humble in the film is what you just picked up on that I didn't pick up on. Is during that speech with the old man is when he's the most humble. So it would make sense that someone, an agent of the divine or something like this, would approach him during that state when he's actually at his lowest or more susceptible to being changed and to
yeah,
reject the devil, so to say.
one thing that maybe you understand that I don't. Do you know why she, like if we say that she's like a real woman,
Yes,
and then we say, well, it would have been better if he had accepted her, right? If we agree on those two
yeah.
things, then why is it that she wants him?
It could be that, yeah. I mean, if she's real, quote unquote, because she could still be like, still a divine being, but taking the shape of a woman, right? But
Yeah,
if she's a real woman, then I would just say she's a sycophant who just wants him for no reason.
Yeah, and that I
But if you
think
use
that that
that,
might be why he rejects her, right?
yeah, I was
Maybe,
thinking that too. That would have said, yeah.
yeah, because
And he says he doesn't believe in God too. That's the thing. He says he doesn't believe in God, so he wouldn't believe that this was a divine, you know. Anyway, go on, and then we need to go. But I need to go. But
she's
go on
also
with your
really
last
good
thought there.
looking, by the way. Just wanted to point
Yes,
that out.
she's very hot. Bring her up
Yep.
on screen so we can see her.
Yeah, I did. She also has a great smile. There's actually a girl which shows up for like half a frame that I feel like is better looking even, which is crazy because this
Mm,
girl is already like a 10 out of 10. But
mm,
still, there is like a girl which shows up which is even prettier. Um,
mm.
yeah, the life you and I have been searching. You've lost your faith, but you held onto your confidence and found me. I'm the one you've been waiting for, and I'm here with you. It's like I don't understand though. Is she really just saying what he wants to hear? Because the timing that she approaches him is exactly as soon as he starts to break down because he has humbled himself, right? So you're right about that. But I don't understand why it is that if we are to like take her as a real person, why is it that she's attracted to him at all? And maybe it's because I'm not a woman, so I can't see what she sees as in a man. But I mean, I'm not sure. Maybe she just had a crush on him all this time, and uh, she finally got a chance to confess or something. But it makes very little like narrative sense uh, why someone who is good, let's say, if we are going by the explanation that she isn't like tricking him or something, that she's actually a good person, why is she attracted to him? Like, because he is not a
Yeah,
good person.
no. I mean, as I said, I feel no, I hear you, but I think that it could be. I mean, if she's not a divine being or something like this, not divine being, sorry, an agent of the divine, she's a real person that hasn't gotten a mission from something else. Then I would just think she's a sycophant who wants him for whatever, and just thinks this will work on him. But with that said, I need to go. But this was a really good discussion.
Okay. My headphones are probably gonna run out of battery soon.
Yes,
This is probably one of the first recordings that I have that I'm going to send you the video instead of just the audio. Just
yes,
because there's a scene on screen this time, so it's gonna be a
yes,
little bit heavier in size.
yeah. But yeah, thanks. It was nice. I will text you soon, okay?
Yeah,
But take
let's
care,
talk
man.
about whatever we're gonna discuss
Next
next
time,
as
yeah.
well. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Take care, bro.
See ya.